Hey guys, so this is another series where I throw questions out there and share my own takes on them. Feel free to throw in your own questions or even call me out if you disagree. If your comment is pretty good or interesting, I might feature your response in the next video. In an attempt to not get too out of touch with the BJJ community, I need constant feedback from you guys. If you can challenge my thinking and perspectives and even teach me something that I don't know, do it. Because it'll definitely help me grow and improve my learning. So overall, let's think through the topic together and find some middle ground on the questions and answers that we may come across. So for the topic today, I got my notes right here. Is this the most dumbest or smartest thing you can do as a brand new grappler? Is memorizing every BJJ escape techniques a good idea for a white belt? So why it was a good idea? From my experience, I was desperate. I was desperate to get good. I was desperate to just survive. When I was in my white belt phase, especially, of course, I'm still a white belt, going in 9 years. But when I was in my early white belt phase, I was getting beaten up all the time. I was constantly forgetting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu knowledge. I was just not progressing. And maybe I felt this way of like just feeling the frustration for like a year or two, and then eventually there was a certain point where I finally developed a memorization method that came to be my lazy code method that I shared to you guys on my YouTube. But eventually, once I developed that method, I started to work on my fundamentals and basics. First, start memorizing them first, and then try to practice with them and get better at them in class whenever I get the chance to train at my gym. So I was in the middle of halfway there of finishing up my fundamentals and basics of just memorizing them until an idea came, because I was still getting constantly beaten up on the mats. I figured that maybe I should start kind of focus my attention on learning and memorizing as much escape and defense techniques, right? Just to add to my arsenal, right? To make myself able to last longer in my roles with other belts. And I think that was like the starting point where I start to diverge from learning my fundamentals and basics. I got distracted, and that's when I turned to these techniques that I would find online, right? So if someone got me into an armbar during one of my roles, right? Then I would try to find a escape of it online. If they got my back and did a rear naked choke, then I would try to find a defense or escape for it. Yeah, I was constantly, anytime someone caught me with something that I know or haven't seen before, then I would just look it up online and just find a tutorial and basically use my method to memorize it. And it made sense because white belt phase is all about survival. So it would make sense to learn techniques that help me survive longer in my roles with people. My basic idea was that the longer I could last on the mats, the more I had the opportunity and chance to learn from my roles. So as I kept kind of learning all the escapes and defense techniques, I started to see the results. Like I was literally surviving like a lot of my roles. And it was actually just one of those things where I felt, in a way, having a sense of progress in my jiu-jitsu. So I was thinking, if I could just last long enough, like if I was, say, rolling with a purple or white brown belt, if I could just make it not that easy, last long as I can of not getting submitted in those roles, then I felt like I was actually accomplishing something instead of just getting beaten up all the time. It worked for quite a bit, probably over like close to 6 months to a year. It was working. I was just constantly learning new defense and escape techniques. This really was a problem because escape and defense techniques took priority. I wanted to be that escape artist that knew how to do every escape and defense techniques and just kind of surprise people, right? Overall, what was the benefit of all this? Well, I was able to survive and be that white belt that gave people a hard time. And also, I love to troll. Right? And in a weird way, I love to troll, especially on the mats as a white belt. So it was a fun thought to make it harder for other higher belts to not be able to submit a white belt like me that easily. If there was a new, say, like example, purple belt, blue belt, or whatever belts comes to visit my gym and they see me with my white belt and they're thinking, it's going to be an easy submission, right? This guy's going to be easy to handle, right? And wherever they threw at me, I was escaping it. I was literally like giving them a hard time, and they'll be like, just like you see the look on their faces after the roll, and they're like, I couldn't submit this one white belt, you know? It was pretty fun. Made a lot of people frustrated, made a lot of friends from it too. It was just like a little troll that I loved doing, right? Now, what was the downfall? Well, after a year, people were eventually figuring out what I was doing and adapted to counter them. So as I kept doing the same escape and defense over and over again, eventually my rolling buddies eventually caught on and they were countering them. They knew what I was doing, and they took brief little moments where I was either like doing this armbar escapes and exposing just a second of my back. They would just take up that opportunity. And eventually my escapes and defense, they just weren't as effective anymore. It would have been effective if I visited a new gym and just like show off over there, and it would have worked. But I realized, you know, the more I kept using them and people were started to eventually caught on quick, then those escaping techniques stopped working. I realized one of the big downfall of learning escapes and defense techniques, of constantly just focus on them, was that I became too focused on jumping into traps and trying to get out, which I should have learned to avoid jumping into them in the first place. So yeah, I was too focused on trying to be this Houdini, right? I was trying to like constantly like expose myself in getting caught into triangles, getting my back taken for rear naked chokes, arm bars, and it just like wasn't effective, like efficient with my rolls and no more. Because of course I'm working on the defense escapes, but what is the most important thing that I realize is that it's better to prevent the submission or attacks in the first place, right? It's better to just like, instead of jumping into the trap and crawling out to impress people, I guess that was my mindset back then, it's better to walk around the trap. And my habit with my rollings became inefficient because I was always constantly exposing myself, and it was just like a subconscious thing, right? Maybe I got so used to constantly doing escapes and defense technique that I just let myself get caught into them, and it was a bad habit that I formed, that I kept constantly exposing myself in these positions. Now, what I should have done, so this is looking back in retrospect, what I should have done was just focus on the fundamentals and basics, get that nailed down. I should have done that instead. Instead of being distracted by all these cool Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu escaping techniques. Those techniques should have been just my last resort, okay? Not my main focus. Another thing is, what I should have done is overall learn to prevent traps in the first place. Like a good example is like preventing yourself from getting robbed when you go to a new city, right? Say Philadelphia. If you know that place is kind of like dangerous, or your stuff's gonna get like, you're gonna get mugged and get your stuff taken, it's better to not carry anything to prevent getting something precious stolen from you. It's better not to carry anything that's like valuable, like a Gucci wallet, Gucci belt, whatever, right? Designer stuff or cash. If you can prevent all that stuff, just dress up plain, like you got no money, and when they see you and they try to mug you or rob you, well, they can't steal anything from you because you made sure you knew what was the situation and you prevented yourself from getting taken, right? And of course, if you were carrying something that is valuable and they actually rob that, well, I mean, at that situation, there's multiple ways to deal with it. Call the cops, whatever, try to grab the bag, probably a bad idea. But overall, all these other situations could have been prevented if you just not carry it in the first place. That's my kind of weird metaphor for it. I'm honestly like a very paranoid guy when I'm walking in the streets, so I try not to carry too many valuable things. One of the things that my coach always tells me when he spotted this habit that I was doing constantly on the mats was that he told me, hey, think of it like this. It's better to prevent getting punched instead of getting punched already and trying to figure out how to deal with it. So that really woke me up in my head thinking, oh, he's right. And I start to realize, yeah, I was always in a weird way letting myself get punched and trying to figure out what to do next. So that really cleared my understanding, right? It brought me back to what I should really focus on instead. So guys, one of the big things that's always like a saying that's always been touted by the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community is that position over submissions. But in this case, when it comes to defense, prevention over escapes, okay? So remember that. And overall, just stay focused on the fundamentals and basics, guys. Do not get too distracted by all the cool escapes and defense techniques that you come across so you can annoy your rolling partner with. Overall, it's not worth it early on if you're a white belt and you're trying to build your foundation, okay? So always focus on the fundamentals and basics, okay? Don't diverge like I did. I was essentially a white belt escape artist, right? And it was pretty cool for like probably 6 months to a year of just constantly spamming those techniques. But overall, they should be the last tool in your belt, okay? Not your main tool. That's all I can give you guys an advice as a 9-year white belt grappler. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Really criticize wherever you can find. And yeah, I want to know what you guys think, okay? It's really good to learn from you guys and really get a good understanding from all the opinions from you guys. Okay, guys, so like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.